Hey guys, I just ended the part one of the midday just a few seconds ago. I'm in Springfield, Missouri. It is raining out, not crazy, just a steady drizzle. I'll get my ponchos on and start figuring out where I want to go to and head to. And figure that out shortly. But as I was explaining this morning, I was in Lebanon, Missouri, and the family that met with me and hosted me last night, Joe and Tracy, knew the weather was going to be real, not even spotty, but real bad today. And the town that I would be going to, Conway, really has nothing but a small gas station and a small motel, and that's all it has in it. And again, they know that this journey for me is about meeting people, and I really wasn't going to meet anybody in there. So they insisted on bringing me into Springfield. So I got to save the legs a little bit today. And I'm not a big fan of those of you that follow me that know I accept rides. I will on occasion, but not big ones. But then things happen. So one of the things that we try to do, I'm trying to highlight this trip for positivity, and Gary Gartrell in the past had said, hey, you know, Bass Pro Shops was founded right there in Springfield, and maybe you could reach out to them. And a couple of my my guys that work behind the scenes for me and trying to get me, you know, known and situated and recognized is Steve and Scott, and they reached out to Bass Pro Shops to see if I can get an interview with the president or a PR person or something to kind of talk about the history and give them an illustration, and that didn't work out. But yet, because we talked about it, Joe and Tracy were going to drop me off there. Whenever I go through a town, I try to reach out to the VFWs and the American Legions to thank the veterans for their service. And I do that because, A, it's one of the two charities I'm trying to raise money for, which we haven't been incredibly successful with, but we're trying. We're going to keep trying. And because I just admire men that can do what I couldn't do and can't do. And I think that we need to recognize these guys each and every chance we get. So when coming into town, I looked up where the VFW was, and as it turns out, it was a little bit closer to the highway than Bass Pro Shops. So I said, hey, Joe, would you mind dropping me off closer to the VFW? Which they did. In the meantime, Steve had reached out and gotten the information on the commander and gave me the commander's number. I reached out to him, but what was odd is this particular VFW closes at 2 p.m. today. So, you know, that's when I knew I had to get here. I should have backtracked it. When I found that part out, if I want to get here, I gotta, you know, I wanted to make sure I got here and thanked the gentleman. So I made it a point to get here before 2 o'clock. I thanked the gentleman for his service. And the gentleman turns out to be Bob Clayton. And that's important. And you start to wonder how somebody up above is putting all these pieces together, because I wouldn't have met him if I was here after 2 o'clock. I wouldn't have met him tomorrow. I wouldn't have met him ever. But Bob is a gentleman that is the actual commander for the DAV at his post. So not only is he a VFW member, not only is he a veteran of our country, but he's the commander of the Disabled American Veterans Fund and organization at this post. So that's a pretty special guy. I got a picture with him. I'm going to share it with you guys shortly. But it made me realize there was a reason why I got that ride today. There's a reason why I got here when I did to meet this gentleman. And I didn't get him on camera, and I wish I did. I don't think he would have been comfortable on camera. But he shared with me a few things. I asked him to explain to me, you know, going back to that conversation I had at the American Legion a few days ago, where the gentleman says, well, I'm just tired of giving money to things I don't see getting done. You know, nothing's getting fixed. So I said, Bob, can you help me understand the role the DAV plays in your organization, a national organization, to me, a non-vet, to people who listen to me who are non-vets? How can I help them understand what it is that you guys do? And I'm pretty good at asking some questions too. So it started the conversation. Bob said, well, I'll tell you what. So one of the initial things we do was there are 6 hospitals in the general area, and we take vets to the hospital that need to get to the hospital 4 days a week, completely free of charge. So think about that for a minute. So first of all, he runs a 6-van shuttle service for these veterans to make sure they can make their medical appointments. And I started to ask where these hospitals are. Now, if you remember, the way Bob explained it was 6 area hospitals. Well, where I come from, the area is probably 15 miles as the crow flies. Well, Bob takes people as far as Fayetteville, Arkansas, or up to Kansas City, 2.5, 3 hours north of here, because that's where the medical treatment is that these people need. That's where the specialists are. So think about that for a minute. Think about volunteers, not just Bob, but each one of those shuttle vans is driven by somebody volunteering their time to take these veterans to their medical appointments. So that in itself should get you to tear up a little bit and reach into your pocket and say, how can I thank these folks and help them? I started talking to Bob and said, so Bob, obviously you got guys with physical ailments, but I'm curious, what do you find in terms of, people that are just really struggling with either depression or anxiety, or, he says, Jim, he said, so many of them have PTSD. He said, I myself suffer from PTSD. Now, when you see a picture of Bob, you'll know that he didn't return from the Gulf War, the Afghanistan War. Bob served in Vietnam and was in the military during Korea. So I asked Bob, how long has he been dealing with that? And he told me 10 years or 11 years. And I realized he meant how long has he been dealing with the DAV as a volunteer and member. And he said, about 11 years. No, I said, no, Bob. I said, how long have you been dealing with PTSD yourself? Because he had told me when he suffered, he said, I said, what's the toughest thing for you? And he said, nights. He said, I said, when your mind's racing? He said, yeah, when you're trying to sleep. He said, he now, and he's a sweetheart of a guy, and maybe he doesn't want me saying this, but, he takes 2 pills to help him sleep, and 2 prescribed anxiety pills, just to be able to sleep each night. Now think about that for a moment, and think about that just to be able to get a sound night of sleep, that you got to do that each night. Let's take it a step further. So I asked Bob, and how long has he been dealing with the PTSD? And he told me he was in Nam in '63. So not long after he got back from Nam. So let's just ballpark, it was when I was born, 1967. Let's say that's when this stuff started to hit him. You realize what that means? That means this guy has been battling this shit, and I do mean shit, because it's not a positive thing, for 50 years. I've been limping around with a bad knee for 3 weeks, and I want to whine about it. Bob is just one of thousands of people out there that their life was changed for something that they didn't ask for. They didn't, in fact, in Nam, they didn't sign up for it. They got drafted into it. And they went and defended our country so we could have some of the freedoms we have, and give some folks over in Asia some of the freedoms they have. And imagine dealing with something for 50 years. And just let that soak in for a minute. Think about the last 3 weeks of your life. Again, I've been dealing with a sore knee for 3 weeks. Imagine dealing with something for 50 years, guys. So I feel blessed to have met this man and what he does. I feel blessed to have Joe and Tracy get me here early enough to be able to meet him. Didn't know that was the case. Didn't know that was going to play out that way, but in fact, that's what happened. So as my journey goes, and I keep realizing I'm not in charge of this thing, these are the things that are happening to convince me of that. So I took some pictures. There was one picture I thought was really special. It's a picture of an American flag, and the stars, not the stars, the stripes are in red and white, I guess, but it's the names of all the people that lost their lives in the 9/11 disaster. And it's really, I hadn't seen that one before. I've seen a lot of different tributes to the folks. I hadn't seen that one. I thought that was very special. I'll be sharing that picture along with Bob here shortly. So today's midday, guys, is don't get too down, or don't overread my want to be transparent. I'm going to share with you when I'm up. I'm going to share with you when I'm down. They're going to both be in the same hour sometimes. I appreciate the support, but don't worry, because then what's going to happen, I know me, I'm going to be reluctant to share with you if I keep getting the overwhelming support, like, hey, don't give up, because giving up's not even an option for me. I just try to be transparent, let you know when I'm beat up and down. So apologize I didn't have a lot of service to get you guys all the posts and the lengthy voicemails like I've done there. Joe and Tracy are not just journey friends, but they're friends for life. Tremendous people. Elsie was awesome. My kids that went back to school this week, I love them so much. Hearing from my brother after these, many weeks was, I can't even put in the words, just lift the weight off my shoulders. Love you, Kieran, so much, brother. Those of you that don't know, my daughter, who I never knew how many kids I'd have, I had 4 miscarriages. My daughter's named after my 2 brothers, Kieran and Steven. She's Kira Stephanie. So I don't know if you could pay tribute any better than that. My son's just named a really cool name because I felt like naming him that. He's a cool little kid too. I got here to meet Bob. I'm in Springfield. I don't know what the day has ahead. But let me talk about that for a minute. So one of the things that I keep coming up with is this apprehension about the West, and as I get closer and closer, certainly that's an issue I have mentally. But at the same time, I'm very positive. The one thing I found out through this journey is just when I think that I'm facing a bleak moment or a bleak day is when the greatest moments happen. I think back to Hobart, Indiana, when I thought I was getting drenched and rained on and soaking wet and wanted to kind of just throw myself in a dryer and put me on high for about 3 hours and never come out. There was Joe Collins sitting there in a parking lot meeting me and inviting me back to his place, and now I got Papa Joe and Cindy in my life forever. Sometimes, so even though there's some apprehension about heading out west in the desert, and it's not made up, people are supporting the fact that it's going to be tough. Who knows what stories come from that? And if they're all, that is what our journey's about, guys. I've heard again today, I can't believe you're doing what you're doing. I wouldn't have the courage to do it or to keep that frame of mind. But I really believe that, and I really believe that people have been so good to me, and I'm going to continue to find that. And there might be some bad days ahead, but I appreciate all you guys for doing that. Just to wrap up today, if anybody's still listening, and if you are, you're crazy, but if anybody's in Springfield, Missouri, I don't have any agenda. I don't have any place to go tonight. I'm probably going to stay in Springfield tonight and tomorrow, and I'm going to try to get into Joplin sometime Saturday. Now, Joplin's more than a one-day trip, but because I've heard, again, there's kind of little towns with not a whole lot in it, I may try to make that big jump, and that may mean me calling a Greyhound bus or something to do it, because I want to be out there in Joplin for the weekend. So if you're out in Joplin, if you know of any community events, if you know of any people that'd like to talk to me, I did speak with one gentleman who I'm going to try to get out there to attend church with his family on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to that. But I want to be able to talk to people. I'm at the VFW now, and I was told that there's a bingo game going on around 6 o'clock tonight that I'm welcome to come back to. So I don't know how far I'm going to stray from here or what's going on, but again, if you're in Springfield, tonight is Thursday or Friday, let me know. I want to meet some people, hear some stories, share myself and my journey with you and my point of thumb philosophy. Out in Joplin, I'm likely to get out there Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to be working on that plan tonight. So if you're out in Joplin or along the way or traveling through and want to be able to reach out to me and get to know me a little bit and let me get to know about you and help me make that kind of dream come true for me on this part of my trip, I really appreciate it. So with that, guys, I love you. Kira Grace Stephanie, Kira Grace Landon. Love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you later on. Have a great day.